If you're looking to lose weight, but you're finding it a lot harder than just cutting calories, you are not alone. The truth is, most diet protocols are making 4 really big mistakes that are actively working against your weight loss goals. Today, I'm sharing those mistakes that diets make so that you can finally achieve your weight loss goal and break through that plateau. All right, guys, if you're new to my channel and you don't know who I am, my name's Autumn and I'm a certified clinical nutritionist with my master's in nutrition human performance. On my channel, I'm typically talking about the science-backed and holistic methods that you can use in order to achieve your wellness dreams. So if you have a wellness goal in mind, make sure you subscribe. Now, the first major problem is that you're hungry. Thumbs up on this video if you've ever noticed that diets make you hungry. I don't think that any of us are alone in that. Now, the main problem that a lot of diets make is that they rely heavily on restricting calories in order to achieve any amount of weight loss. Now, this strategy is called semi-starvation, and it relies a lot on the energy balance theory or calories in, calories out theory, which we'll talk more about this in a second. And it turns out a few very real, very big problems occur when you're hungry. First is that compliance is low. Even the most disciplined people eventually give in to actually eating again, which inevitably results in losing this semi-starvation state that was causing any amount of weight loss. Second problem that arises are the type of cravings that you experience when you're hungry. In this state, your body is looking and searching for the easiest to break down food sources that will provide instant energy for the body. And what's the fastest, simplest, easiest type of fuel to break down in the body? Simple sugars. This is why if you've ever been on a semi-starvation type of calorie restrictive diet, you'll notice that you start craving things like cookies and crackers and gummy bears and I don't even know, all these other different types of sugary foods, even if you've never had these cravings in the past. And that's often something I see with a lot of my clients is that when they started a calorie restrictive type of protocol, they start to crave things that they've never had cravings for in the past. They start to crave a lot of sugary foods, a lot of bready foods, a lot of starchy foods. And this is due to that very basic physiology of what happens when you're hungry or in that semi-starvation state where your body is looking for that simple form of energy to break down. Which leads me to my second point, and that's you're not eating enough protein. Now, in the past, protein wasn't necessarily a big focus for me, but specifically over the past year and a half, I've been really diving into the amino acids that are necessary, the proteins that are necessary in order to achieve any amount of weight loss or satiety, as well as optimal health, which is also something we talk a lot about on this channel. And it turns out protein is pretty important when it comes to weight loss. Now, we've even discussed in the past with a lot of other videos of mine where protein causes the body to secrete a really powerful appetite suppressant called peptide YY. And unlike fat and even to some extent carbohydrates, we can't store protein. This means that we can't really access protein when we need it on a daily basis. And we do need it daily. Protein is what we need in order to make new cells, new hormones, immune system. We need it for so many aspects of just maintaining life within the body, which is why we need to be consuming it on a daily basis because we can't store it for later use. Now, something really interesting about the body is that we're constantly recycling and remaking new cells, and each different type of cell has a different amount of life or lifespan. I mean, we're creating new red blood cells, new skin cells, new cells for the inside lining of your GI tract literally every day, and protein plays a really big role in this. And that's not even factoring in the protein that we need in order to repair our muscles after a workout. If we don't have enough protein, not only will you be hungry, which ties back into that mistake number 1 that we just discussed, but your muscles will waste away, your immune system will decrease, and your body just won't perform as it should. But this doesn't mean that you should go around eating all the lean chicken breasts that you want, because this also could lead into some problems, which leads me to my third point. You're not eating enough fat. A famous study was done in the 1920s with an anthropologist named Stephenson. Over a decade, he was living with the Inuits where he was really only eating fatty meats, fish, and drinking water. And the health and the low weight of the Inuits was so impressive to Stephenson that he eventually came back to the US in order to run a study to show what could be done with this type of diet. The study was overseen by different researchers and professors from really prestigious schools like Harvard, Johns Hopkins, and Cornell. They secluded Stephenson and his co-anthropologist Anderson to a Bellevue hospital where they're only eating the foods that the Bellevue Hospital gave to them. And those foods were strictly around the Inuit style of eating. The researchers found that when these two anthropologists only ate the meat and the fat-based diet, that their cholesterol went down, their metabolism rose by 9%, and their weight dropped. Now, the really interesting part of this study is that they found that when Stephenson only ate the lean cuts of meat, so like the different types of lean chicken breasts and lean turkey that are often suggested today, he grew really sick really quickly. Then once they added the fat back in, that was naturally along with these different types of meats to roughly a 3-to-1 ratio of protein to fat, Stephenson quickly got his health back. Now, this isn't to say to go carnivore diet and eat just meat. This is just the point I wanted to make, where you need to make sure you're including the fat to go along with the protein. Otherwise, this could make you very sick. In order to incorporate protein in a healthy manner and support our body, we also need to incorporate the fat to go along with it. And with weight loss as a goal, this is another really great bonus, because fat also causes the secretion of another appetite suppressing hormone called CCK, or cholecystokinin. Combining both the protein and the fat, combining both the protein and the fat can help to keep you satiated for long periods of time and help prevent the sugar cravings that would typically result from hunger. This is why in the recipes from my complete intermittent fasting bundle, I make sure to combine the protein and the fat in the recipes so that you can get those benefits of fat burning and satiety. And the recipes range from smoothies to chia brekkie bowls to chilies to tacos. You can check out the details for the complete intermittent fasting bundle down in the description below. And this leads me into my fourth point: you're strictly counting calories. The problem with counting calories is twofold. The first is that it causes you to really start to defer to these low calorie foods that are typically also high in sugar and high in the insulin stimulating types of foods, which of course with that secretion of insulin shuts off lipolysis, which is fat breakdown, and shifts your body into storing mode. And the second problem with it is that it shifts you away from emphasizing those types of foods that keep you satiated and help prevent those sugar cravings like fat. Calorie tracking and calorie counting really became popular in around 1917 when an LA dietitian or nutritionist published a book that was promoting this way of weight loss. And this goes back to that energy balance theory of calories in, calories out, which is originally really rooted in the first law of thermodynamics, saying that no energy can be created or destroyed. In other words, that theory is basically saying if you eat more than you take in, you are going to gain weight. Now, the main issue with this theory is that it treats the body as a very simple machine. And as the constant discoveries being made on how the body actually works, we know that it's not just a simple machine. What the energy balance theory fails to understand is that each food enters the body and has a different effect on the hormones that are secreted that tells the body whether to store fat or to burn it. Proponents of the energy balance theory of calories in, calories out will often claim that you're completely ignoring that first law of thermodynamics if you say that it's anything other than calories in, calories out, but this actually isn't really true. And this is diving a little bit further into the science than you probably clicked on this video for, but it's something that's really important to understand, especially if you have weight loss as your goal and you're finding it extremely difficult to achieve. But you see, the energy balance theory kind of has it flipped. It states that all calories in all food are the same and that any energy that isn't burned is automatically stored. What our hormones tell us is that certain foods, especially carbohydrates, have a really big effect of releasing insulin within the body, which is a really strong storing hormone. When insulin is present, you will not burn this fuel. Rather, you will store that energy first because insulin is present, and therefore the amount of fuel that you have left over for energy, for actually being able to use it, is significantly diminished. And because this energy source or this energy pool is diminished for what you can actually use right then for fuel, this is why you'll notice you'll often get hungry really quickly after something like a dessert or a high carbohydrate meal like pasta, versus having something that's lower in these carbohydrates like an egg scrambled avocado. Now, going back to the issue of counting calories period, protein and carbohydrates have the lowest amount of calories per gram at around 4 calories per gram of carbohydrates and protein. Fat, on the other hand, has the highest number of calories per gram, in fact more than double. With this in mind, if you're following those strict calorie counting rules, you're more likely to reduce those calorie dense foods, such as fat, in order to stay under that calorie threshold. Not only is this a problem because it's reducing that satiety, because you aren't getting that full secretion of CCK from fat, it will inherently replace fat for the lower calorie food options like carbohydrates, which is the food that causes the biggest release of insulin, your storing hormone, which keeps you in that fat storing mode and makes you more hungry as a result as well. So even if you are eating less, but you're still relying more on those carbohydrate rich foods, your body is actually storing more of that food as a result of the insulin that's being secreted. And even if you didn't replace the fats for the carbohydrates, but you replaced it with lean cuts of protein instead, then you fall into that issue of getting sick, just like what we discussed with that previous mistake. Because instead of those fattier cuts of meat, if you're reducing those fat grams in order to stay under your calorie threshold, you're relying on those lean cuts of meat that we have found to make people sick. sick, just as Stephenson discussed with that 1920s experiment. This is why the protocols and the recipes in the complete intermittent fasting bundle that I developed really emphasize that low glycemic load, as well as the high quality proteins and the corresponding fat that go along with it. Again, you can check out the deets down in the description below. Now, if weight loss is your goal, I highly recommend that you ditch the scale because it is a really inaccurate form of measuring your progress. Instead, make sure you use body fat percentage. And if you're wondering what your body fat percentage should be, I have a really great video that breaks this down right here. Also, if you're new to my channel and you love the science-backed information, make sure you subscribe right here. I come out with new videos every Tuesday and Thursday. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in my next video.